Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. So today we will discuss about the AWS VPC. In the last video we discussed networking, CIDR, subnetting. If you would like a quick refresher, please feel free to check it out again in the link. Link is in the description. Today we will deep dive into the AWS VPC and the other key networking concept in the AWS. So let's get started. So first we need to understand what is the AWS VPC. So AWS VPC stands for AWS Virtual Private Cloud. It is like creating your own private network inside the VPC. Like in the real time, in the on-prem also, if we want to set up the infrastructure, first we have to create our own network. In the same way, in the AWS cloud or in any cloud, you need to create your virtual network. So in AWS, we have the VPC to create our own private network inside the AWS. So it is a private cloud in the AWS. So in real world scenario, like if you are building a web application on AWS, you want your application to be more secure, scalable, and follow best practices to make sure you can deploy your application within the VPC. VPC will make your application more secure and reliable. And in the VPC, you control everything. You need to control the network. You can control who gets access to your network and the resource, and how things are connecting with each other, how the one EC2 instance will connect with the other one. You can control everything, and this will make your infrastructure more secure. It will allow you to control your own network. You decide your IP range, you create subnets, you control access, and you route traffic securely as per your requirement. Like in this diagram, here we have one VPC created in a region. You can create it in any region as per your requirement. Suppose it is created in East US, in North Virginia, and then you can create a VPC virtual private cloud. Here you can create multiple subnets and where you can deploy your resources. Like you want to deploy an application, it can have a web tier or database tier. So you can deploy your application in one web tier in one subnet and the backend tier in another subnet. And then you can use the security groups and NACL to restrict the traffic to these subnets. So this will make our infrastructure more secure, and you can restrict the traffic to your resources, and you can protect your application from the internet as well using these subnets and security groups. So this VPC helps in securing our infrastructure. Why do we need a VPC? As we discussed that it will make our infrastructure more secure. You can create a safe, isolated place where you can deploy your application. And when you deploy any EC2 instances or RDS database in the AWS, you first create a network. You need to deploy your EC2 instances in a VPC. So when you create a EC2 instance or RDS database, you create a virtual private cloud and then subnets where you, and inside the subnet, you will have your EC2 instances. Suppose you are deploying your application which has frontier and backend. So you can create a VPC, then you can create a two subnets. One could be private public subnet and another can be private subnet. So in the public subnet, you can deploy your web tier or web server, your web server EC2 instances, where the internet traffic will be allowed. You can allow the internet traffic in the public subnet. And then you can deploy your database or RDS database, you can deploy it in private subnet. So in the private subnet, you cannot allow the internet traffic. It will be secure and protected from the internet. Then you can connect to the database through your web application, through web server EC2 instance. You can connect to the database, but no outside connection will be allowed in your private subnet. you can configure these infrastructure using the VPC. So here you can see that it will make your application more secure because you are restricting all the internet traffic to your database. So it will secure your data, and security is most important thing for any business or for any website. So this helps in ensuring the security of our application. And what makes VPC special? That, as we discussed, you choose your own IP address range. So in the VPC, when you create VPC, you need to select your custom CIDR range to create your network. So as per your requirement, how many IP address you need, as per your requirement, you can create your VPC. Then you control which machine can talk to each other. So you use the security groups and network ACS, and you can use the routing rules to manage the traffic to your VPC and subnets, which will help in ensuring the security of your subnets and your EC2 instances in the subnets. So here you are managing everything. You are controlling the access to each resource in the subnets or in the VPC. So you are controlling everything, that which machine can talk to which machine. So you will get the flexibility to managing your infrastructure using the VPC. You build secure networks in minutes. With the click of few buttons in the AWS console, you can create an isolated virtual network using the VPC. So it will make your task easy because with the AWS makes it very easy to create a VPC, then you can deploy your EC2 instances or any other resource in the VPC. You can connect VPC across regions or accounts using the VPC peering. So with the help of VPC peering, you can connect two VPCs in different region. If you have VPC in different region or in the same region, you have two VPC, you can connect them using the VPC peering. So this helps in connecting two offices. Like if you have one office in one VPC and another office in one VPC, so you can connect it using the VPC peering. So you can transfer the data from one EC2 instance in one VPC to the another EC2 instance in another VPC. So it will create a private tunnel between the two VPC which you want to connect. So it will be more secure connection within the VPC. There will be no internet connection between the VPC. It will be a secure tunnel between two VPC. So it is more secure to connect the two VPC to AWS accounts or region using the VPC peering. So next is, what are the key concept of VPC? First is private and isolated network. As we discussed already, that with the help of VPC, you can create your private virtual network. That is the isolated. There is no internet connection. You can allow the internet connection using your security groups or NACLs. That is in your hands. You are managing all the connection which you want to have in your virtual network. So with the help of VPC, you can create isolated network that is protected from the internet. Next is customizable IP range. So when you create your VPC, you can assign the IP address to your VPC as per your requirement. That how many IP address range you need, as per that requirement, you can create your VPC. With the help of CIDR, you can define your VPC IP addresses. Like when you create, you need to assign it an IP range that is the CIDR block. The more detail of CIDR block you can check in my previous video, and the link is in the description. You can go through it if you want. Next is the subnet. So within the VPC, you can divide the VPC into multiple subnets in the private subnet or in the public subnets. So this will help in managing your infrastructure more efficiently, because if you want any internet access to one subnet, so you can put it in public subnet. And if there is any resources you don't want any internet connection, You want to make it more secure. So you can put those resources in the private subnet. So you can properly manage your resources using with the help of the subnets. So public subnet resources that will be accessible from the internet. Okay, and the private subnet will not have any internet access, and it is more basically we use for database or for internal application server that you want to put in private subnet, that you want to have it privately, you want to put it in private, then you can put in private subnet. Next is security group and network ACLs, network access control limits. So here you can control the traffic entering or leaving to your VPC and subnet using the security group and NACL. So security group will work like a firewall where you can define the port, which port you want to allow or deny, where you can define the inbound and outbound rules. With the help of inbound and outbound rules, you can accept or deny the traffic to your subnet or your virtual VPC. So security groups helps in traffic management. Next is network ACLs. It operates at subnet level and they control traffic in and out of subnet. And this is stateless. You must define both inbound and output roles explicitly. Route tables. Route tables are used to route the traffic. If you want to manage the route of your traffic, for example, routing the traffic from public subnet to the internet gateway, for that you need to create a route table. When you create a EC2 instance, by default these route tables are created, VPC route tables are created. So this is used to manage how traffic is routed between the subnets and outside of your VPC. Next is the internet gateway. So internet gateway, with the help of internet gateway, you allow the internet access to your VPC. When you create VPC, internet gateway is attached to your VPC, which will allow the internet connectivity to your resources and to the public subnet only, because only the public subnet resource can access the internet. So only subnet will have access to the internet gateway. Through the internet gateway, application will connect to the application in public subnet will connect to the internet, and in the private subnet there will be no connection to the internet gateway because we don't need any internet access to the private subnet. So without this internet gateway, you cannot connect your VPC to the internet. So to connect your subnet or VPC to the internet, we use the internet gateway. Next is what are the best practices for AWS VPC? So network segmentation. So we should always create an VPC, then we need to create multiple subnets. As per our requirement, we should create front tier or backend tier. We should create the subnets to divide our application in to divide our application to proper manage the infrastructure of our application. Like we should always create separate subnet for our web tier, then separate subnet for our database tier. So we should create multiple subnet to properly manage our network. Then secure by default. We should use the security groups and NACLs for controlling access to our resources in the VPC. We should not expose the critical resource directly to the internet. We should restrict the internet traffic to our subnets. And with the help of security groups and NACL, we can restrict the internet traffic to our subnets, to our virtual machines. And we should use the private subnets to deploy our application or database. We should deploy our database in a private subnet to make it more secure and to prevent any internet traffic to the database, because we need to secure our data, so database must be in private subnet. And if we want to access the private database, so we can use the bastion host or the VPN to access those securely. High availability. So we should, when we should deploy our EC2 instances in multiple availability zones within the VPC. So this will increase the availability of our application, and it will make our application fault tolerant, because with the help of if our application is are deployed in multiple availability zone, so in case one availability zone goes down due to some issues in the data center, so if we have our application in multiple availability zone, so our application will be up in another availability zone. So this will ensure high availability of our application. So we should deploy our application in our VPC in multiple availability zone. This is the best practice. Next is the monitoring. We should use various monitoring solutions provided by the AWS like VPC flow logs, CloudWatch to real-time monitoring our infrastructure if there is any issue. So we can get the alerts. We should set up the alerts to properly manage our infrastructure. So these are all best practices we should follow for our AWS VPC. So that's all for today. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more DevOps and Gen AI videos. And if you have any question, please comment it in comment section. Thank you all for joining today. Have a great day ahead.